What's up, guys? Here to knock out about 1 hour. Let's see how many people we can impact with this message. What's the message? Well, what we do every day, dummy. You can become Jewish, and let's talk about it. That's it. Pretty easy, pretty simple. And while we get people here, I'm doing some work online. All right, busy night. Cool. Guys, welcoming all the, what's the word? Apologists, theologians, atheists, Colombian people in the house. Any Colombian people? No? Empanadas, boys, something. Guys, keep it interesting. The goal of this live is for me to learn as much as you, and to keep it going, right? Get to the point. Let's talk about specific topics and move on and move on and move on. And like the live, follow the host. Judaism is better. And you know what? I wouldn't be saying that if at the same time I wasn't encouraging you to become Jewish, right? This idea that someone could be proud of something that they don't share boggles me ethically. Why would you, it's like a white person being proud of being white, just like Stam, or a black person being proud of being black. What does that mean? That's what you are. You can't change that. We're proud of achievements. And if you're proud of anything and you're not sharing it, then perhaps you don't think it's as universally effective as you may have thought. Right? If something's good for you, what are you saying? I guess it can't be that good if it's only effective with your people. Some people say that Torah is only for the Jewish people, and God only cares when Israel keeps Torah, but when a Gentile keeps Torah, it's like nothing. It makes absolutely no sense ethically. No sense. So let's read some questions here. So someone can become Jewish and not part of the religion. No, that's not you could be part of the religion. What are you talking about? The ethnicity has nothing to do with the religion. There's a lot of misinformation out there. They say that Judaism is an ethno-religion. It is not an ethno-religion. There's an ethnic component to the Jewish people. That doesn't mean that the religion itself, right? Assuming when you say the word religion, you're in some way linking the creator to it, right? I mean, that's what makes it a religion. So from that perspective, it doesn't matter who your mother happens to be. From God's perspective, it's if you enter into an agreement with him to keep his law. That's what makes you Israel in God's eyes. Now, legally, right, and this is man-made law, which I'm not a Karaite. I believe in halakha. I believe in Torah Sheba'al. Legally, the way we determine who's liable for violating commandments in the land of Israel, we determine that by the mother. That doesn't mean that people are in some way special to God because they happen to have a Jewish mother. Not at all. And if you disagree, then come on. Hop on. Let's see. Do I think Jesus is the Messiah? No, I do not. Someone says, my ethnicity can be Jewish and I can be a Christian, though. That's also true. Sure. How do you feel about Palestine? Let them fight it out. Okay. Let's see. Oh, look, my friend's here. Someone says, I am Jewish by ethnicity, but a Christian by believing in Jesus. You know, this whole notion of being Jewish by ethnicity, but you're not part of the Jewish, of a Jewish community, I don't think works. You mean you may be, your great-great-grandparents may have been ethnically Jewish. Only because you happen to be a descendant of Jews doesn't mean you're an ethnic Jew. Like if you have no understanding of how Jews live or no Jews on this planet. The reason I mention that is because there aren't too many Christian people who live in Jewish communities. So it's hard to identify as an ethnic Jew as a Christian when you don't really live amongst Jews and, Okay, what if I'm Fruity? Oh boy. Can you be Jewish but anti-Zionist? Yes, you can. Hey, okay. Cool. Let's see. Someone says Jesus is king. Okay. Conservative conversion valid. Are conservative conversions valid? Why not? I mean, if it's done in a kosher manner, according to Jewish law, there's a way to do conversions. The only thing that would make it non-kosher from a conservative perspective, assuming conservative Jews, right, they keep all of Jewish law, I think, with the exception of the controversy that they came out with in the 1950s that one could drive to shul. That's the only controversial thing that I think conservatives have ever done. Very controversial. I mean, against halakha, in my opinion. So yes, unless they have a woman rabbi as a witness, which they do ordain women rabbis. So that would make it not kosher. Okay. Next, isn't Abraham from Iraq? Not necessarily, right? These countries weren't called that. This is pre any colonizing that took place in that region. Rabbi Asher said, "Oh boy, what does that mean? What is the problem with the Noahide laws? Where to begin? The Noahide laws, my friends, belong in the Bronze Age. The average Muslim, the average Christian keeps more than 7 laws, even without even trying. The idea that we want Christians or Muslims, ethical Christians or ethical Muslims, to become Noahides is something that has to be rethought." Don't mind the noise, it's raining here in South Florida. Why would you want someone to go from a higher ethical level to a lower one? If someone strives to keep only 7 laws, how could they ever really be considered righteous? Isn't that kind of silly? And but yeah, if you're knowledgeable on the topic, please hop on and let's dialogue. Why there are so many laws in Judaism, from clothing to food? There aren't that many laws to think about it. Like if you think about it, it depends. If you're a Kabbalist, let's say, and you consider the words of your Admor, the words of your Rebbe, as part of Torah Sheba'al Peh, then yeah, there are way too many laws. But if you limit laws to the 613 mitzvot and what we call halacha, meaning the Chumash and the Mishnah alone, because that's really where halacha comes from, the Gemara is just there to comment on the Mishnah, then it's quite small. But if you bring down all the Amoraim and all the Achronim and Rishonim and allow them to make a chulent of your religious practice, and yes, they make it difficult. So I appear here as some sort of investigative reporter to let you know what's an actual law and what's not a law. This is just something I do for fun. How do I join? Join what? The Jewish people? Or hopefully the background noise is not too much, because it's pouring here. Let's see. Leon. Yeah, so you don't have followers. Yeah, you need at least 1,000 followers to enter a live on TikTok. Someone says, you are born Jewish, you just can't become Jewish. This person must be a Muslim. Muslims, they keep peddling false information, even when they're confronted with the truth in this area. I don't like using the word truth, but it is true that Jews accept converts. What's the difference between Islam and Judaism? Well, in my opinion, they worship a different God. Let's see. Oh boy, it's pouring here. I think I have to talk louder or something, so the background noise doesn't. Whatever. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah? Someone says it's not for everybody. For sure. Being Jewish is not for everybody. I mean, ideally it should be. I wish everyone was squared away enough to be able to live a kosher Jewish existence, for sure. But most people can't, and it's not for everybody. But it might be for you. That's it. Just saw someone sent me a video clip. It's floating around TikTok of what's that show? I think it's called Young Sheldon, right? It's supposed to be like the kid from that 70s. Was it that 70s? No, from Big Bang Theory. That there's a clip that he wants to convert to Judaism because Einstein happens to be Jewish. Most people don't know. Einstein was not an atheist, by the way. Not that he was convinced of the God of the Bible necessarily, but he wasn't an atheist. So he's like, well, he admires scientists, and because of that, he wants to become Jewish. Yes, Jews are overly represented in these fields, science in particular. And he calls a synagogue, I assume it was some sort of Reform synagogue, and that rabbi in some way discourages him, right? Like the dummy that most rabbis are, and tells him, God doesn't want you to be Jewish. God wants you to be you. That's clearly a Reform response, right? This whole notion of being you. If you're you, and then what's the point of submitting yourself to some standard outside of you, right? By you meaning just be yourself, do whatever comes easy. I don't know whoever thought that was ever good advice. So whatever. Sheldon takes the advice and remains a Gentile, and for some reason people marvel at statements made like these by many rabbis when I think it's so primitive and stupid, and these rabbis they're typically never corrected, which by definition theologically means that society leaves them in an infantile state where you don't correct people, or when you're not allowed to correct someone because you're scared to be called like whatever, the people of World War II, then by definition they'll never improve, they'll never sharpen their arguments because they never have to dialogue with anyone who disagrees with them. And that's really where the Jewish people are today. But don't worry, as a Jewish person myself, I will take it upon myself to challenge these people and correct them publicly, these mistaken rabbis. And yes, I am a rabbi myself also. Someone says, you no longer have blood of goats and calves to cover your sin. Judaism doesn't have any atonement. Okay, and he pasted that twice. There's a difference between atonement and forgiveness. Most people don't know this. In exile, we're not seeking atonement, right? I guess anyone could know this if you just read the Bible straight through. In exile, we're seeking forgiveness, not atonement. Atonement occurs when you enter the land. So maybe you want to modify your pasted text there. Does your God accept non-binary people? Well, you can identify as non-binary. I'm sure God knows what you are. All right. No matter what your pronoun happens to be. What is the halacha on praying, Asher? What do you mean the halacha on praying? What does that mean? I mean, you have to recite what Chazal tell you to recite. That's it. I don't know what the halacha is. You can become any religion you want, but if you want out of hell, you need to trust Jesus Christ. Come on, guys. I know you guys say this. I don't even think you really believe it. I mean, it's already like a popularity contest, and it all boils down to, I don't know, picking up the opposite sex. I mean, even for religious people, they're like, I'm going to pop out here on TikTok and make silly comments at Rabbi Asher's page, so then people could think, or so I could go ahead and say that I was debating Asher, right? But all you were doing was posting Creed. Yeah, Creed. I mean, that's a good band too. Okay. Let's see. Guys, let's keep it coming. Keep the questions coming in. Like the live and follow the host. My God is black. Okay, doesn't matter. I don't really care. Doesn't matter what color God is. What matters is that your ethics improve by following him. That's the only thing that really matters. That's the point of being religious. The idea of being spiritual or focusing too much on spirituality and not on ethics is such a cringy idea. It's so like poserish. It's like joining a gang. There's no mental onanism. There's no tangible benefits. Just walking around with a sticker on your car or like a necklace on, but it means nothing because it affects no one but you. Okay, it says, why are we so greedy? I don't know what that means. So why does he mention it in Revelation? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't believe in the book of Revelation. May the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who the Jews denied, forgive you. Boy, that sounds very scary, but regal at the same time. All you have is man's religion, not truth. You notice I never use the word truth on the show. It's such a cringy term. All right. Now, there are things I believe that are true, but I would never thrust my theological beliefs on people who don't believe them, or who are not convinced, or who haven't bought into them. The only currency I have between me and my audience who's not Jewish is reason and logic. That's it. If I can't present to you Judaism as superior based on reason and logic, then I've failed. the idea that I should walk around like a Christian or a Muslim, or how some Jews say that if like do this in order to get to heaven, right? And Jews don't use the word heaven much, but they'll use olam haba, like the world to come, or I don't know, Gan Eden. I think it's stupid. It's like I'm winning you over with what's the word? Incentives. It really doesn't do you any favor. It's like you belonging to people who believe that vibranium is real. Have you ever figured out what's Cuba's vibranium? Tobacco. All right, let's see what's next. By the way, I don't bash Jesus on the show, and I don't really bash Christians. Now, like if you want to debate the topic, I used to be a counter missionary. I don't know. I think my time is better spent trying to get Christians to become Torah observant. But I think Christianity is good. I just think that Judaism is better. I don't believe in Jesus. Clearly, I don't believe in Muhammad either. I think ethical Islam is also good. I just think Judaism is better. But yes, instead of becoming atheist, become a Christian or become a Muslim. But first, consider Judaism. All right, we have my partner in the Gimel Karamuna, in the 13 principles of Maimonides, but it doesn't piss anyone off but Maimonides and the people who follow him, right? So I don't see the issue with it because it doesn't exclude God. It just says that now, truth be told, I'm not so familiar with all the inner workings of that hypothesis, but I think that's the macro understanding of it.
Yeah, I think what they do there, the scholarship, is they compare the text and the spelling and all this. Well, not spelling, because that changed definitely, but they compare the style of writing and the names and phrases used with the other books and try to match the linguistics to the prophets and writings and things like that. And then they date the styles and the authorship based on that.
Yeah.
So they're spread over time. I think the Deuteronomy is the oldest of them, and then the other books are the Priestly is the last one to come. The Deuteronomy is the first of all.
So people who don't know will start to think only because the Chumash as we have it today may have been compiled by different people later on, that the message itself was also new. But the people who were writing it were already religious because they were priests.
Yeah.
Meaning, so they still believed it was given to Moses, just the form that we have it today. So it doesn't hurt anything. It doesn't, or at least.
No, I didn't mean that it hurts it. I'm talking more from the idea of like what the original would have looked like, trying to like see, okay, like how was, for example, how it says that the kings would have to write the law and read it to the congregation. I don't think that the kings would just sit and read the entire Chumash to the congregation in a festival, right? That doesn't make sense.
So, everyone, like the show, follow the host. The more you like it, the more viewers we get, the more interesting conversations we'll have. Now, One thing that I think it came out about the same time, and that's the Bible codes. That's really what made people like furious with the documentary hypothesis. Mm-hmm. And truth be told, the Bible codes are BS, but they've been disproven over and over again. And I remember I learned in Aish in the Old City, and they would travel the world. They had like maybe 5 rabbis with a program called Discovery. It was put out by Aish Torah. And they talk about everything, like all the major tenets of Judaism to secular societies in America, but 1 or 2 hours was dedicated to the Bible codes. And they would use this as a premise to get people to come to religion. However, it was disproven. In Israel, they ran Moby Dick in Hebrew, like to the same computer, and they came up with similar prophecies. And there's so many people.
Yeah, and War and Peace also, they ran through it.
Who? Where? Which one?
The War and Peace they also put through it and found a whole bunch of codes in there as well.
Yeah, so there's so many people who dropped religion because of it. This is not a reason to encourage people to become religious, or it's not a reason to become religious because of some silly Bible code. Okay, I mean, it has to be something that's a lot more impactful than that, like ethics, some intellectual connection. Like, you know what, living this lifestyle makes my life better. So the people who believed in this Bible codes, that are the people who really hate the documentary hypothesis, because what they're saying is that because there's Bible codes in it, the Chumash as we have it today must have been written by God, which is not. It just doesn't. The Torah, I believe, is from God, but the Torah are the mitzvot within the Chumash, not the whole Chumash. I know you know this, but just for the people listening.
Yeah.
But that's,
To me, it doesn't affect my faith whatsoever. It doesn't shake it.
so I'll tell you, I know Judaism pretty well, right? And I'll tell you, this is probably what makes me stand out more like an apicorus than anything else.
Yeah.
Because proselytizing is not a thing. I mean, I know many Gedolim in Israel who have no issue with proselytizing. Many big rabbis who are like, Asher, you're doing a good thing, but you can't teach that the Chumash that was in all written by Moshe Rabbeinu. That they can't tolerate because it's become a principle, right? But it's like, yeah, okay, it's a principle. It's in the Yud Gimel Karamuna, but I mean, the Rambam's not a Tana. I mean, the Rambam's a Rishon, right? Only because the Rambam wrote it doesn't mean it's set in stone. And truth be told, the Rambam was just in some way codifying what appeared in Per Chelik. That does touch on this, but it touches on many other things that for some reason aren't considered.
Well, to me, the biggest problem would be is if you base your faith that this text, as you see it now, is the written by God, and if somebody can then point out a mistake to you, then it destroys your faith altogether, right?
Yeah, well, that's what the Muslims do. I mean, the Muslims are like, you have an autographed copy of the Torah by Moses. I mean, they have the stupidest arguments. I'm sorry. I mean, I like Islam and I like the
what their faith is based on, right? They believe in the documentary, right? That they have the exact same word of God as it always been. So it's a basis of their theology. So they try to apply the same basis to everybody else's theology.
Welcome, Calculated Soul. Now, that's a cool name. I mean, that's like, rock band status. Go ahead.
Thank you.
I guess you're just a spectator today. Every time I hear cool Telegram or TikTok handles, I think that should be like a rock band. There was once I was tossing this, I don't know, a pair to fill into some guy, and I almost hit this guy named Howard in the head. And I'm like, Howard in the head? That's another cool freaking rock name, But I don't know. I mean, since Butthole Surfers disappeared, all the rock names sort of suck now. All right. Calculated Soul, going once. Going twice. You're muted, bro.
Hello?
Oh, I guess you're not muted.
Do you hear me?
Yes, now I do. What's up?
Okay.
Great screen name, by the way. I like it.
Thank you.
Like futuristic Matrix, but religious at the same time. So you are a Muslim, Christian, Boricua.
Me? No, I'm an Israelite.
Ah, that's what's up. You gotta, I like that. All right, so you are an Israelite. Is that your nationality, your religion, your ethnicity?
So I'm a Hebrew Israelite by conviction. Yeah.
Does the word black kind of fit in there at all? No.
Yes, but yeah. Basically, what I believe is that the people who have been scattered through the four corners of the earth by slavery, that they are the descendants of the ancient Hebrew Israelites.
Well, there aren't too many black people in China or anywhere in Eastern Europe. No, you're saying that the blacks have been scattered to the four corners of the world. But I would say in the vast majority of places on this planet, there aren't Africans. But there are Jews, by the way. I'm not, it doesn't, blacks weren't the only people who suffered the pain of slavery. As a matter of fact, more people were enslaved under the Moors than in the transatlantic with slave trade. But it doesn't, I have no issue with someone believing that some of the Hebrews were black, right? The problem I have is when you say they were specifically black. Like that's the thing. But do you believe that
No, I
someone could
believe that
convert to Judaism?
I believe that they were originally black now, like nowadays. Of course, you have to have a track record going all the way back to Moses. So, now if you look today, like people are mixing, even within 1 or 2 generations, you can already look different. So, of course, there are people with different shades of color, but I believe that going to the Bible, originally the Jews were a people of color.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, color for sure. All right. I
Yeah.
mean,
But
yeah.
Hebrews come from the word Hebrew, right? This was like historical tribes, and they're a massive ethnic group. Like they lived all over Middle East to Northern Africa, and Hebrews were like so. Basically, majority of Middle Eastern people descend from Hebrews, including Arabs and Jews and so on.
So, do you think that someone could become Jewish according to the scriptures?
I believe that everyone can, let's say, follow the law, keep the commandments of the Most High. Yeah.
But can they become Israel?
Can they become Israel?
Mm.
How do I say this? I believe that they can join, but what I believe is that the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade, that they are the original Hebrew Israelites. That I mean by blood, yeah. But of course, you can join and you follow the laws and the commandments of the Most High and be accepted by the Most High. That is no issue. Yeah.
I said I don't have any disagreement with you. I mean, I don't agree that the Jews were originally black, but I don't think that matters. I mean, as long as you believe that by committing yourself to God, you're just as important to God than some sort of ethnic Jew or a Jew by DNA or genetics, then I don't even know what's the point of even saying what you said. I mean, we're on the same page overall, right? I mean, it doesn't matter then. Well, so being Jewish doesn't really matter. I mean, why even mention that you're an Israelite? Why don't you just say I'm in a covenant with God then?
Well, if you look in the Bible, there are specific prophecies given to the different tribes. Or why wouldn't that be important?
Oh, because probably 90% of those prophecies didn't occur. Are you talking about Genesis 49?
Yeah, Genesis 49. Even when you look at Deuteronomy, I believe it's talking to the blood Israelites, like the people who are Israelites by blood. I don't think that if you read the Bible starting from Genesis and the prophecies that are given to the specific tribes, that it's talking about converts. It's talking about the initial text is written towards the blood Israelites that came. Yeah.
So finally, we found somewhere where we actually disagree. Okay,
Okay.
so with Genesis 49, I'm sure you acknowledge those prophecies, the bulk of them didn't occur, right? Like by the simple fact that Levi became the holiest tribe and not the irredeemable tribe as it appears there, shows that Jacob in some way missed the mark. You do acknowledge that on Mount Sinai, right, alongside the Hebrews who essentially knew nothing about the God of Israel, and at that point were entering the covenant, there stood a mixed multitude of peoples. And at least from a rabbinical perspective, we believe that there were more non-Hebrews than Hebrews there, right? I mean, you're familiar with that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay. And then God says that there shall be one law for the native born and
For
the
the foreigner.
sojourner who attaches himself to you, right?
Yes.
Are you familiar with this?
Yes.
Okay. And then we never hear again God make a distinction between ethnic born Jews or Jews by DNA and those who attach themselves to Israel. It seems that they all got absorbed into Israel. It's hard to believe that no, whenever God said and God spoke, or whenever the Bible says and Moses spoke to the children of Israel, he was excluding all the converts, right? It's hard to believe that, right?
Well, the point I just made, like if you go to, for example, what you mentioned, Genesis 49, it mentions the specific tribes. Like in the prophecies, it mentions the specific tribes of Israel. Prophecy was given to the tribe of Judah, the tribe
Yeah,
of
but this is
Levi, the
before the
tribe of.
Torah was given. This is before the mixed
Mhm.
multitude. This is before conversion was even allowed because the Jewish people weren't a religious body, right? I mean, Jacob barely knew about the God of Israel. I mean, it's things changed when the Torah was given, right? That was the final standard. Now, I get it. Well, I mean, truth be told, even back then, Jacob's wives were an Israelites, correct?
Mm,
They weren't all
no,
descendants of Abraham, but for some
no,
reason
but we
they
believe that it's
became.
by the father.
What do you mean?
Believe that you're an Israelite by your father, not by your mother.
Not at that time. That's after the Torah was given, and that
Yes,
any
yes, yes, of course. Hmm.
tribal rules regarding Israel only appears after the Torah was given. I mean, nobody cared. There were no tribes of Israel back then. There were the sons of Jacob, and the sons of Jacob didn't walk around thinking they were tribes, right?
Okay, continue.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to. Here, look. The point of this show, and I appreciate you, right? I mean, you're clearly a
Yeah.
thinker, but the point of this show is for me to challenge you with logic on topics or with biblical verses that we both accept to see what's the truth, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to sharpen you up and you're trying to sharpen me up. And I'm trying to make you a little more consistent because it's hard to believe that you believe that someone could be special to God by keeping all his commandments. However, when God was speaking to the people, in the Torah, he was only speaking to genetically born Israelites.
Mm, true, but okay, but I do believe that I do believe that the law, okay, when we talk about the law, the commandments that God gave us to keep, that this is something that is given to the entire earth. I mean, even if you read in the Bible, there's a text where it says that when the kingdom is established, those people that shall not come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, they shall have no rain.
Yeah, it's not in the Torah, by the
So,
way. Yeah,
no, it's not in the Torah, but it's
yeah,
in the
it's in the
Tanakh.
prophets. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So,
which means that it's not really for real. It's like poetry because a
you
prophet
don't
can't
believe in the.
invent a new law.
I've heard you say this more than once. So you don't believe in the Tanakh, like you don't believe in the writings that
No,
they
I
are that
believe
they
in
are.
it, but I believe in it with the standards that exist in the Tanakh. And the standards in the Torah is that a prophet can add new laws. This is why the prophecy of Moses is on a higher level than any other prophet, because anything that came through Moses could have been new to their ears. Because the revelation came through Moses. Every other prophet, God says he's going to bring them prophets when they begin to misbehave, to wake them up and say, look, come back to Torah, like Torah. If you believe that Jesus was a prophet, that's exactly what Jesus did. I don't believe Jesus was a prophet. Yeah, but fine. The role of Jesus on this planet was essentially to call out the hypocrisy of religious Jews of his day, right? So he for sure thought he was a prophet, and he may have been. I mean, I don't think he's God or the Messiah, right? But it wasn't unheard of for God to send messengers to Israel when they begin to misbehave. And then this is why, at such a time, is a perfect time for Israel to mistreat these prophets in return. So as Jews, we don't believe in progressive revelation. This is why if Joseph Smith said that he's been given in addition another standard, then as a prophet he has to die. Because he's adding to God's law. And that goes for Muhammad, that goes for Jesus. I don't think Jesus really instituted anything new. I think Paul did. Yeah, so I think that perhaps, well, I was going to welcome you to consider becoming Jewish, but you're already Jewish, right? I mean, I'll take your word for it. It doesn't matter to me, right? If you believe you're an Israelite, then you're an Israelite. But I think you should be more inclusive, like for people who want to be completely honest about it and say, like, you know what? I don't have a drop of Jewish blood in me, but I'm fully sincere and I want to be part of God's people. It's hard for me to think that God's going to say, nope, sorry, you're lacking the proper blood like running through your veins, right? God doesn't give a crap about blood, right? The idea that blood matters is the last primitive belief that we have to do away with. It makes us look stupid and backwards.
Well, the most thing is that we keep the laws of the Most High, isn't it?
Yeah. And
But
thus,
but
and by keeping those laws, we become inheritors to all the blessings that appear in the Torah, whether you have a direct connection back to Abraham or not.
but you and me do keep a different law, though.
All right. No, what do you mean?
In the fact that you follow the laws of the Talmud additionally.
Right. However, I don't call it Torah law though. I call it rabbinic law. So it's equivalent to me keeping American law, because rabbinical laws are there like civil laws of the land of Israel, not of the state of Israel, of the land of Israel. There are laws developed by the Sanhedrin to be able to keep Torah laws in a unified manner. The Torah tells you how to keep the Sabbath. It doesn't tell you, the Torah tells you to keep the Sabbath. It doesn't tell you how to keep the Sabbath. It tells you to keep festivals, but it doesn't tell you how to establish months. There's so many things that the oral law has to step in and fill in gray area, or then the Torah could never be kept on a national level. So,
can you give an example of what the Bible does not say about keeping the Sabbath? Because for me, it's clear that within the Bible it says that when the Sabbath comes, you shall not do any servile work, you shall not light any fire. I mean, it's quite specific on how to keep the Sabbath. And for me, I just take what's written in the scripture. So what don't you see there?
The word work doesn't appear there. I mean, that's only there in the English translation. The word in Hebrew is malacha or melacha. The question is, you wouldn't know what malacha is if the rabbis didn't tell you that it means creative labor. I mean, it's not just working, because what constitutes as work? So the rabbis filled in the gray area and created 39 categories of prohibited labor. And they took it from the Torah itself as things that the Israelites didn't do when they were building the tabernacle. It's interesting. God tells you that there's a death penalty for breaking the Sabbath, but he doesn't tell you the do's and don'ts of how the Sabbath is kept, apart from, like you said, not kindling a fire. But there's more to work than just kindling a fire, right? There's baking, and there's sewing, and there's rinsing. There's no way that you could run a country by everyone walking around with a Torah under their arm. There's no way. This is why the Torah specifically tells you that in all matters of dispute, you shall go to the place that God will choose. This is Jerusalem. And they, the judges of those days, they'll give you the Torah. And then, like, their words will be Torah. And it says, don't stray from the right or to the left of what this court instructs. This is Deuteronomy chapter 17.
Doesn't also the Torah say that we should follow our rabbis?
No, well, the Torah doesn't say that.
Or follow authority?
Right, but that's what I'm quoting. I mean, it's Deuteronomy chapter 17. It's Parashat Shoftim. It's an old-fashioned justification for the oral law, that it says that you shall go to the judges of those days. Now, the word
to the
rabbi,
priest and judges. Yep.
Yeah, the priest, the shofet, and the judge. Well, the judge is shofet, priest, and Levite, right?
Yeah.
The word rabbi doesn't appear in the Torah like this.
But it's not just that. There's also, for example, it says, you shall slaughter the animal in the way that I showed you. It doesn't say how. It says to do circumcision, but it doesn't tell you what circumcision is or what to cut. So how do you know how to do those things without the law?
So that's a better argument. The circumcision one's a better argument. I never bought the whole notion that you shall slaughter it in the way that I taught you, because he did tell you to bury the blood. And he did show you, because the argument is that he didn't teach you how to, like, nowhere in the Torah does it say how to slaughter cattle. It only shows you how to slaughter poultry. But it could mean, because I heard Tovia Singer say this argument, I just thought it was kind of weak. It could be that you're supposed to slaughter cattle the way you slaughter poultry. And the way I showed you, I think could mean that covering the blood. But it's true, nowhere in the Torah does it tell you how to circumcise. I mean, it tells you like an orla, like what does that even mean? Is it like your finger? Like, what is it? So it's easy for someone who only knows Christianity to look at the Torah with Christian lenses and say, I got it. But that's because Christianity is essentially an offshoot of rabbinical Judaism, so they had all this understood already. So the only way you could run a nation is with consensus, and that's where the oral law steps in. Now, I am not of the opinion that the whole oral law was given on Mount Sinai, and more knowledgeable Orthodox rabbis understand that's the proper approach. It's a Kabbalistic idea that the whole Talmud was given on Mount Sinai, okay? You don't have to believe that the oral law came from Mount Sinai to feel obligated to keep it. And I'm talking to my Jewish audience now. So the Rambam in Sefer HaMitzvot, he writes, where in Torah does it tell us to keep the oral law, right? So he mentions the verse I just quoted, Parshat Shoftim, the mitzvah of lo sasur. I guess if your Sephardi is lo tasur, of not straying from the right or to the left of what the court instructs. That is the source of the oral law, the source. And even, the Rambam writes in Hilchos Mamrim, this is also for my yeshivish crowd, Beis Din Hagadol Sheber Yerushalayim Hem Iker Torah Shebal Peh, that it's the Beit Din Hagadol that ruled from Yerushalayim that is the Iker, the source of what we call Torah Shebal Peh. So even the Rambam is saying that the Sanhedrin is the root of what we call the oral law. Anyone who only goes to Chabad and Satmar and Toldos Haran and Bubov thinks the whole oral law wasn't given on Mount Sinai. That's a primitive understanding, okay? Clearly, Hanukkah wasn't given on Mount Sinai. Purim wasn't given on Mount Sinai. And that's equally as part of the oral law as the 39 categories of prohibited labor on Shabbos. So these are things that people don't dialogue much about because most rabbis don't debate. I do debate, rabbis in particular. And this is why they talk so much crap about me when I'm not around. And talking about my friend Courtney on my live, I was actually on that live when that Israeli came on and was talking crap about me, but I didn't come in because I just wanted to hear everything he was saying. I don't even know what's his name, Yaakov. Some guy named Yaakov was trashing me on TikTok. I didn't hop on because he goes on my lives a lot and he doesn't come on. So the reason he doesn't come on is because he knows better. So I didn't want to corner the guy, but whatever. There's a lot of Israelis that act like they're born religious, but they don't know anything about Judaism. And it's just that people think only because someone's Jewish, they happen to know something about Judaism. It's not true. The average Jew knows nothing about how their religion functions. All they know is Israel, Palestine, and destroying Bollywood. That's all they understand, Anyways. Yeah, Courtney, I was there with Will, whatever, and this guy, Yaakov. I heard the whole thing. Fine, okay. So Rambam says that Rambam uses the not straying to the left or right as a way of saying don't go to extremes. Not in that portion of Sefer Mitzvot, right? It's true. The Rambam makes a famous statement that one has to stay in the middle path. Like don't go too much to the right or too much to the left. But it's a famous statement of that's what lo tasur means. Don't stray. Most rabbis, when they hear lo tasur, but they don't think the Rambam's saying don't go too much to extremes, because by definition, Orthodox rabbis are extreme. But in that one, they tie it to the command we have to believe that the oral law or the requirement to believe in an oral law comes from the Torah, from a rational perspective. Okay.
So how do you look at someone that only keeps the written law?
No. Here, I said that the oral law is not the Torah. There's written Torah and oral Torah. We have a prohibition of adding to the Torah, right? This is a famous thing for my Jewish crowd out there. It's called being a Baal Tosif, right? Being a Baal Tosif, the verse in the Torah, it appears twice. Lo tosef alav velo trugar mimenu. Don't add or take away from these commandments. So if I would call oral law written law, then I'd be adding to the Torah. By the simple fact that we call it rabbinic law or oral law means that we're not calling it Torah law. So we're not adding to the Torah. So someone who only keeps the oral law is someone that I know cannot ever imagine of being redeemed, because you can't.
Wait, I think he's asking about those who keep only Torah laws and not don't follow the Talmud.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But Karaite Jews, it's just different branch of Judaism.
So Karaites don't only keep the written law, by the way. They
made up their own new oral law.
Right. So Karaites have a book called the Sevo HaYerusha, which is the yoke of the inheritance. At least the traditional Karaites. If you go to the old city, like in Yerushalayim, there's a Karaite synagogue there, but it's not the Karaites you find on Facebook, right? So those guys created their own oral law because they acknowledge that you can't run a religion or exist as a religious entity without checks and balances, because the Torah has too much gray area. Most people don't know that Karaites in Israel don't eat shawarma, because they say, you ever ate shawarma on the big thing that's spinning where they put fat on top of it? Well, so Karaites believe that chaylev is forbidden. It's a forbidden fat. Now, who knows? It's because they have their own oral tradition that teaches that it's forbidden. So they acknowledge
some of them eat meat and dairy together. I mean, yeah, they eat meat and dairy together and say that it doesn't say anything in the Torah about that.
No, right. Yeah. No, I'm just saying that they have their own traditions, right? But they don't only go by Torah law. Apart from the laws that they created for themselves and this oral law that they have, they also extract laws from Tanakh, which Jews aren't supposed to do, right? I mean, just like Christians, they'll read the book of Isaiah with the same reverence that they read the book of Exodus. So someone like this, I think these movements only exist to disorganize religion, because there's no way that you could run a nation by people discerning the Bible on their own. First of all, nowhere in the Torah does it endorse self-interpretation of Scripture. It always tells you to go to the judges, right? Because Christianity, Karaite Judaism, Islam is really a form of exile Judaism. Judaism doesn't make sense in Galut. It just doesn't, it's too personalized in Galut. This is why Christianity is about a personal relationship between you and God. Torah Judaism doesn't really function like that. Torah Judaism is about a relationship between God and the Jewish people. Now, yes, the Jewish people are made up of many different individuals, but it's only really a handful of places where God talks about personal punishments. Like he says, in terms of kivud avayim, not honoring your parents, it says that if you do that on a personal level, then God's going to ensure that you don't have a long life, right? But for the most part, the sins amongst Jewish people are national. So this is because they're national, there has to be a consensus on how every mitzvah is kept in a uniform manner. I can't say that I'm going to wear tzitziot like this and you're going to do it like that, or keep Shabbat on Wednesday like some people do, by the way, because people who keep the lunar Sabbath, they count the week differently. So, all the holidays are different. The truth is, a lot of these cults have a good argument for why they do what they do, but it doesn't matter, because we go by the court that are typically made up of the wisest people in Israel. Nowadays, we don't have a court, right? The Beit Din HaGadol ceased to exist in the 4th century. But back then, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi, all the big rabbis, Hillel,
so you don't believe that there could be variety in the way that you keep the laws? Like, for example, when the Bible says that you should wear fringes, you don't believe that there can be variety between one person and another of how the fringes should look like?
There could be variety as long as the core principles of the halacha are kept. For example, nowadays amongst the Jewish community, the fringes that Jews wear aren't all the same. There's fringes of the Ravid, which is probably what the most people wear. There's the Rambam ones, the ones that Yemenites wear. Some people use what's called techelis, and some people don't. But overall, it still follows a Talmudic understanding on how tzitziot are made, which it at least has to have one chuliyah. If it has one knot in it, it counts. Most people don't hold like that nowadays, but this is what the Mishnah says. So there could be slight variety. As long as it doesn't go against the ruling put down by the court. And these rulings appear in what we call the Mishnah. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, because I believe, I personally, I believe in variety. You look at the law, for example, what I gave the law about the fringes, and it says that you should have fringes in the corners of your garments with a border of blue, and as long as that law is there and you make the fringes, that you still follow the law, but that there can be variety in the way you wear it.
There's variety culturally, different Jews,
because different Jews different
live
Israelites
in different
the
places. Over time, they all kept the core principle of these things. Some Jews wear a yarmulke that looks different than a different group of Jews, or it's just they keep the core principle of the idea, but at the end of the day, it's all the same. They look different. They might look different, or they might have a different tradition, but it's
even how you wrap tefillin, right? There's different methods depending on community. How you put on talit, that the different communities came up with different ways over the thousands of years of how they, traditionally do certain things. Even some of the prayers are different depending on communities, but overall, the main thing stays the same.
Even
Yeah,
the
that's not what
Hebrew
I'm
language.
talking about. I mean, I'm saying in biblical times when there was a Sanhedrin, that means once the Sanhedrin sent something, everyone had to do it like that. Nowadays,
Yeah,
that Jews are in exile, Jews in Iraq have different prayers or a style of prayer than Bukharian Jews, well, let's say. But back then that wasn't the case because we knew what the law was. Now most people have what's called a Masorah. They're saying like, we understand it like this, we have a tradition like this, but no one truly knows, so there's another Sanhedrin. So assuming if there was another Sanhedrin, there'd be a lot less variety because we believe that this court had the authority to tell us how to do things. Yeah.
People automatically think black hat, white shirt, black pants is the core and
yeah, I
correct
know
way
that's
to
the
look like a
minority.
Jew, but it's not. I
It's
mean,
the minority actually.
some Jews used to wear turbans. It's
Is
very
it the minority? I mean, I
it.
think in the Orthodox world, it's probably the majority because these guys have a
But
lot of
but
kids.
I
that
mean,
type of
but then you
Orthodox
look
is
at
minority.
Sephardic. You can look at Sephardic religious Jews. They don't only wear black and white. Like
Yeah,
the men don't
exactly.
only wear black and white. They wear
Yeah, but the
regular
rabbis
suits.
do, because they
The
sold out.
rabbis wear regular suits. I don't
That's
know.
not true. I mean,
Maybe they call us the Hasidic Jews with better clothes. So
I
the
mean, but
vast
it's also
majority,
only Haredi, right? I mean, even modern Orthodox don't wear that stuff,
yeah,
like
on
modern
Shabbos,
Orthodox they're
they
allowed to
do a
wear
lot of
jeans.
them. Like most Sfardim, which tells you like who pretty much won the culture war, on Shabbos will wear a black hat and a black suit. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about
no, you're right.
I'm not talking
But
about like
okay, so
Rabbi Yosef.
another thing. So
Yeah.
Ashkenaz allows women to wear a wig, right? Where in the Sephardic culture they only wear headscarves. I know a lot
yep.
do wear wigs now because they want to wear hair out, but back then the Sephardic women were only really allowed to wear headscarves. They didn't wear wigs.
So it was till Rabbi Yosef came out against it, whether they started burning wigs and Meir Sharim and stuff like that. But it's true in like Mizrahi areas in Yemen, it never crossed their mind to not wear wigs or to wear wigs. But before like Rabbi Yosef said that, the reason he said it is because there were so many Sephardim doing it, because they were copying Ashkenazim. Ashkenazi Jews.
Is that a Torah law?
Yes and
The
no.
law is to cover your hair. Your hair
Right.
must not show. It doesn't say you can't wear a wig. It doesn't say you
But
can't wear.
where in the Torah does it say? Where in the Torah does
Okay.
it say you have to cover your hair?
So it doesn't say it explicitly. There's one verse that's used by most of the commentators, like Rashi, in the story of the Sota. But the
That the
Sota
priest shall uncover the head.
the what? I'm sorry?
That the priest shall uncover her hair.
Correct. And in some way disgrace her by doing it. For the most part, head
But-
coverings on women, apart from that verse, is rabbinic because there's no law that says that a woman has to cover her hair. But the understanding.
Yeah, I wanted to say that because there's no law for that.
No, right. I mean, it's a rabbinic law. However, that we call it was called an asmachta. So, an asmachta is when you have a rabbinic law with some sort of Torah proof, right? But I get it. Like, if you're not convinced of rabbinic Judaism, there's no reason why you should think it's a Torah law. Yeah. But it's still obligated from a rabbinic perspective. Yeah.
I think it's also derived from where it says that Rebecca covered herself when she saw Isaac.
All right. That's kind of a stretch.
I've
I
heard
mean,
that explanation.
I mean, women should wear nose rings too, because
Yeah, women
Yeah.
did. Jewish women. Well, yeah, they did wear nose rings, and now it's prohibited to wear this kind of jewelry.
really it's
And some-
prohibited? No.
I mean, we're not supposed to.
Oh, in
I
secular
don't-
society, though. Oh, it's because it looks modern. It's like hookah
In
sakura.
religious, yeah, and like more religious, they don't. We're not supposed to have multiple piercings on our ear. We're not supposed to have nose rings.
All the
or-
hippie girls in Israel have it. Like
But not in religious communities. Like in my community, you will never find it. Even if
No,
she
but I
wears
mean, like-
pants, they don't do that.
in the
I don't
Tilumi
know.
communities. Like the naot, like the girls who wear naot and the dreadlocks, but they're like there's a yeshiv, there's a seminary for girls in Israel. It's called Bat Ayin. Well, the whole yeshuv Bat Ayin is like a hippie yeshuv. right? I mean, the Rosh Yeshiva of the yeshiva there has like peyot, but they're dreadlocks, and they're all big into like karbach and long davening and smoking tons of weed. So there's a lot of Jews, Nanaks also. There's a lot of Breslov girls who have nose rings because they're into like funky.
Breslov is a special case.
Yeah.
I mean,
and they
it's not.
smoke tons of weed.
It doesn't say that we're not allowed to, but modestly in today's day, it's not accepted in most Orthodox communities or religious communities.
I mean, Haredi communities is not accepted. I mean,
In my community, some Sephardic communities either. In America, maybe I don't know about Israel, but over here, like we just don't do that. We I don't know. When I got a second piercing on my ear, my parents went crazy. Almost called me a reformed Jew.
Well, you guys are pretty firm then.
Yeah.
In South Florida, it's not so stark. It's
I mean, if you know my community, they literally call us Hasidics with better clothes. Literally, more expensive clothes, maybe.
the Syrian community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that community.
I know you're not.
There's a shul here. It's a very beautiful shul.
I'm not mad at you.
There's Mystic Point, right? The Safra, like the Safra synagogue by Aventura. Beautiful synagogue, Rabbi Galamidi. But you walk in and there's a big sign that said that converts are not given any honors in the synagogue. I'm like, ew. Yeah. No, they could go down.
A change needs to happen in the community. I don't know. I'm talking with a few people.
You think they're gonna listen to you?
I know they won't listen to me. This has been for a long time, but it's not fair. Even a woman in my community was getting married, and she converted before she met the guy. She did a full conversion. She was completely from either a rabbi from Israel came and spoke for her, and they still didn't allow the marriage. So she had to get married in Israel, not here. And it's against the Torah to act this way. So I don't know.
Yeah, it violates the Torah law.
So this is a famous story. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about the same story, but there's a story that Rabbi Vada Yosef vouched for a girl with in Flatbush.
This is it.
Yeah, with the what's the family there? I mean, there's a family there, the Kassim, right? The Kassim family runs Flatbush.
Those are the rabbis of Sharet Zion. Yep, they were the rabbis who wrote the edict.
No, well, the edict. I mean, the Takana is actually from 1905 in Argentina. You guys could look this up. Everything I say, trust but verify.
Yeah, the Syrian community in Argentina is where it started, and it came to New York once they started migrating to New York. And I read about this so many times, and they wrote up the edict in New York because a lot of men were coming. There weren't many women here yet. There was a lot of men coming here alone, living here alone, and they were converting a bunch of women just to get married. And the rabbis decided, we're not going to do this anymore, and we're only going to accept second generation converted families.
So I have a slight rendition to that story, because the rabbi who did it, his name is Rabbi Sutton, right? 1905 Argentina. What people don't want to really say, because they're saying, well, in Argentina there was Jewish girls, but the truth is, most people don't know this. I don't want to offend you. See, the right when I say that is because I'm going to offend you. Is that
I don't get offended.
There's something called a Shitta crisis, right? So the Shitta crisis is that there's too many available Jewish religious women and not enough Jewish guys who want to get married to them in particular. Because for some reason, you have to push Jewish guys to get married. I wasn't born Jewish, right? I converted to Judaism, it's no secret, right? But my high school had a daycare in it, right? I guess Spanish guys, you don't have to tell us twice, right? But guys don't want to marry Jewish girls. And this is why they made the edict. Because like you said, the Argentinian Syrian guys were just meeting, whatever, like Goyas, converting them to Judaism and marrying them, right? I mean, because Jewish women are a bit difficult. This is no secret, okay? And because of this, they thought that they were going to force these guys who, first of all, if you're from, you're not going to be talking to non-Jewish girls to begin with. So these are guys who were on the fringe to begin with. So these guys just ended up going off because they didn't have anyone they wanted to marry. Because at least if they marry someone who converts, the kids are still Jewish and whatever. I mean, they're at least accepted in the community. But to try to force them to find spouses for all the available Jewish women, they outlawed conversions, which is the stupidest. I mean, tell your girls be a lot more sweet and a lot more feminine.
And listen to the karma. So the Casson family, the rabbi who passed away recently, his sister, she ended up leaving the entire community and married a non-Jew because they wouldn't accept her spouse, and now she's completely ostracized. She has grandchildren that aren't Jewish, and she's living a completely non-Jewish life. This is the biggest rabbi in our community, by the way. This is what happens.
People how about
start
you?
Leaving.
Did you marry a black?
I married a Syrian.
Black Syrian?
No. I married a Syrian. I went the right way, but I'm divorced now. So.
All right, guys.
I'm not.
Help her out.
I have children, single parent.
So there you go. Okay, rich guys. Well,
but,
first of all, I mean, text her a picture of your Bugatti.
I started to really look into these things because I had a very bad experience when I was getting divorced. It's really also looked down upon, and it was a big drift that I had. So now, I do appreciate my religion, but I don't appreciate the community I was brought into very much.
Well, I mean, the Jewish community, the Jewish world is pretty colorful, at least religiously. The truth is, there aren't too many places for you to go to begin with, right? It's not like, what's the alternative for a Syrian person? I mean, not Bukharian, right? I mean, you guys.
My sister's married to a Hasidic Satmar. Okay, there's alternatives. So.
Oh boy.
I'm not opposed to different.
Yeah, but now they don't need in your house anymore.
Yeah, but Satmar, what are you gonna say?
They don't come over at all. You're right, but
I met the Satmar Rav.
She's happy. She likes it.
Yeah, but she doesn't shave her head, does she?
No, and she wears colorful nail polish. Her in-laws accept her. It's okay. Her in-laws are a little. Yeah, she does drive. She has a job. They're a little more lenient. They're not very. They love her. She's not she doesn't have a hard time. She likes.
Are they like Williamsburg Satmar or like Curious
Borough Park? Borough Park, more modern. They have smartphones, so.
All right, so they're not really, they're not really Satmar.
No, they are Satmar though. Klosenberg, actually.
All right, Klosenberg's not Satmar.
But they're religious. They're very different.
I spent Shabbos in Kiryas Yol, in Monroe, and every time, someone goes there for Shabbos, they introduce him to the Satmar Rav, so I shook his hand, Rav Aaron at least. And I daven at the other, because there's two, most people don't know, there's two Satmar Ravs. There's the Rav from Williamsburg, which is, what's his name? There's Aaron Teitelbaum and Zalman Leib. Yeah, he's in Williamsburg. Anyways, one of my best friends are Satmar, actually, and he introduced me to the whole Satmar world 10 years ago.
I can ask a question.
I have no issues with the community. I like them.
Well, converts has, Satmar has more converts than Balchuvas in it. And most people don't know.
They're more accepting, but also they are a little bit I used to work in Borough Park, and
they're a little hardcore for my taste.
They would always assume I'm not Jewish. I remember one lady walking into my office and she just started screaming, why don't you have any Jewish people working here? And I'm like, excuse me?
Oh, because you're Sephardi. You pass your Puerto Rican.
Yeah. So and I was like, I'm Jewish. You can't just judge people off how they look. You don't know who's Jewish or not. Not every Jew looks like you. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, whatever. And it's just weird. Walking in that neighborhood, they all assume you're not Jewish if you don't dress and look like them. But otherwise, I like them. I don't have any. A lot of people say they're too extreme or they just to themselves, and I'm just because nobody really accepts them. That's really why they're to themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I like that you're honest, because most Jews, they whitewash I don't whitewash my existence at all. I think by definition we wouldn't improve. Like if we just always made the Jews look perfect. With warts and all, I mean, I still think Judaism is better. So if that isn't the best testimony for becoming Jewish, because a Muslim won't talk bad about the Muslim people. I mean, I'll call things how they are.
I'm not talking bad. I'm saying what it is. We have
I-
ultra orthodox. We have people who view other people as it's a problem we have. Like Sephardic and Ashkenazi didn't always get along. We all know that. When they first started to meet each other in Israel, in America, they didn't always accept each other. One side would say, "Oh, we're the real Jews." No, we're the real Jews, and it's like it took a long time for us to actually accept each other.
yeah.
So that's we lived in different places. We had different cultures. It was not easy to just merge, and we still don't really merge. You don't see a Hasidic guy walking into a Sephardic shul. You don't see a Sephardic guy walking into a Hasidic shul. So it's like, but we're all Jews. So at the end of the day, I mean, these are just this is
How
the
can we be all
reality of
Jews
it.
if we're not black? Right? Calculated toll?
Oh yeah, you're right.
But you know what? On what basis do you believe that conversion is in the hands of other people instead of in your own hands?
I think that conversion in God's eyes is in your hands. But conversion is really a two-step process. You're converting into the Jewish people, and at the same time, you're in some way connecting to the God of Israel. So there's many people who convert for marriage who wouldn't give a crap about Judaism, but they're legally Jewish after they convert, right? And there's some people who are not able to convert, but they commit themselves to Torah observance, just like the Hebrews and the mixed multitude did on Mount Sinai. And in my opinion, they're in as much of the covenant as a religious Jew is. So it's
But
ultimately
they're not Jews according to you, though. So there's someone
they
who
are
can.
Jews. What do you know? I mean, they're not okay. They're converting to Judaism rabbinically just makes you legally Jewish. That means that if there would be another Sanhedrin, they'd be able to punish you for violating the Sabbath, because now they can count you as Jewish because they saw you go through the procedure. That has nothing to do with God, right? There's people who are born Jewish who don't even believe in God. I mean, you're telling me God cares about Karl Marx or Trotsky or Gloria Steinem, Judith Butler, the garbage of the world, George Soros? Of course not. I mean, these are atheistical people, but they're still Jews. They're legally Jewish. That we'll say halakhically Jewish, but they're not spiritually Jewish. They're not in a covenant with God, which is essentially
But these people
Yeah.
these people that you're talking about, that you say that they have a covenant with God, they don't have any rights. If you are in control of the land of Israel, I wouldn't have any rights to do anything within the land of Israel if you would be the rulers there. You understand what I mean?
No, I disagree with that, because if you thought that you were Israel, right, because you accepted the Torah, you would go through the proper procedure to make sure that the children of Israel accept you as Israel, which means that you would go through some formal conversion process, right? I
But
mean,
why would I though? If according to if
I mean, he, I guess, ran out of battery.
It's very simple explanation. It's just like a difference between legal immigrant and illegal immigrant, right? So somebody coming to U.S. and going through the legal process to become a citizen versus somebody who just crosses the border.
Yeah,
That's
but wait
the
a
only
stop,
thing. It's a process of getting citizenship. Really, that's all it is.
what would stop someone, I mean, from just making it official? I understand if someone feels that they're Jewish, but they just can't prove it because they don't have any paperwork. A paperwork meaning some sort of marriage certificate of your great-great-grandmother or something to prove that, I mean, for more than 100 years you were Jewish. Just convert, right? There's
let's
many
be
times that
honest.
people convert believing that they're Jewish just because they just need
But
that
let's
piece of paper.
be honest right now. Okay, so you say that people should convert, right?
Yeah.
Now, I go into the Talmud sometimes. I read the Talmud, right? So even if you go into the Talmud, the restrictions that you put on the conversions today, that's not how it's supposed to be. So how can you expect people to convert to a religion where they have to take years and years of learning in order to join it? People who have jobs, people who have a life, while even within your own book, it shouldn't take up to 1 year or 2 years. Even within your own book, it's written that um, uh, I think it was the same day that you should be accepted the same day, isn't it?
You're quoting me here. There's
We're
no
in
way
full
that you got
Uh,
agreement
this
here.
anywhere else.
Yeah.
You got this from me. There's no other rabbi who says this, which is true, by the way. Right?
well, I
Conversion, according to the Talmud, takes a day. According to the Rambam, according to Shulchan Aruch, takes a day. But you got it from me. I mean, come on. I mean, make me feel good. I mean, there's no way that you
But
picked it up by
don't
yourself.
you
well,
think
well,
like
listen.
don't you
Yeah.
think like because to have like a full, real,
And
genuine
how do you think
conversion
that God looks?
is
How
to
do you think that
actually
God looks at
show
this?
Okay, hold on.
is to actually show people what it is to be a Jew. Like you can't just one day just convert and then show them what it is to be Jewish, and then they're like, "Oh, this is too much. I can't do this." So don't you think the whole long process is just to show people like this is what you're going to have to do to to be a Jew? Like this is what these are the
Mhm.
laws you're going to have to follow. And really, I think that's why in today's day it takes longer, is because a lot of people end up backing out when they start to find out how hard it is. It's not as easy as it looks on the outside. There's so many laws that goes into being a Jew and being a fully fulfilling Jew. And I think that's why now people would rather teach them what it is first, then give them the conversion.
Yeah.
I don't
But then
agree with that.
they're going against their own text.
No, no.
Yeah.
I don't think they're
Hold on,
going
hold on.
against it.
I mean,
I
they're not
think
going
they're
to. Well, the Talmud never says how long it should take. I mean, it's just saying that it could take quickly, right? But if the person is not ready, he's not ready. I'm not against long conversions, by the way. I'm against people being mistreated. If for some reason people were treated, what?
The reason I'm saying it, if you expect people to become, let's say Jewish, right?
Yeah.
People want to become Jewish, and it takes 2 years. Like people, like for example, me, I have kids, right? I have kids. I have a job. I travel, right? How can I commit myself to a 2 year process of becoming Jewish with such a busy life? That's
No, I
crazy.
hear you. I hear
That's
you. I mean, it should be customized for every person. Okay, I'm not against. I mean, it taking long. And like, why are you in such a rush to become Jewish, anyways? If you feel you're Jewish, conversion is to be proven Jewish to the Jewish people. God
Don't
knows
you
your
want to
heart.
know what it is before you get into it? Like,
but you but you
why would
but
you
the
just
thing,
want to
okay,
go and do it and then realize, well,
but
this
wait a
is
minute.
not for me? Like,
But
I
wait a
don't.
minute. This Rabbi Asher Meza is your name, right?
Mhm.
You are the one that says that there is a difference between being legally Jewish and being accepted in the eyes of God. But most rabbis say that if you're not legally Jewish, you're not Jewish in the eyes of the Most High.
Yeah. So we
Right.
disagree.
But you are the only one saying it.
Well, I mean, might doesn't always make right. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty cool. Look,
And
it says
do
in
you
the
have
first thing
sources?
here.
And do you have sources for this in the Talmud?
Do I have sources in the Talmud? Okay, so the idea that only because someone's Jewish doesn't mean they're important to God is not just in the Talmud, it's in the Torah. Meaning that we have this notion called karet, that the phrase is to be cut off. So just use a concordance and look how many times in the Torah it uses the phrase that if you do such and such, you should be cut off from your people. Which means that only because you happen to be born of a Jewish mother doesn't mean that you're special or Israel forever, right? And conversion from a Torah perspective, I'm not saying a rabbinic perspective, is just as easy as committing yourself to keep the Torah. Because we assume that the Hebrews on Mount Sinai converted on Mount Sinai. And all they said was Nasiv and Ishma. They accepted the Torah upon themselves. So it's not a long process. Now, the reason rabbis disagree with me is because they're big on Kabbalah. Kabbalah changed the whole thing. Kabbalah teaches that what matters is having a Jewish soul. And that a Jew is a Jew is a Jew, that whether he's religious or not. I don't believe in that. I think it's a bigoted idea. So that's why they disagree with me. I mean, not because the Talmud agrees with them. The Talmud agrees with me. The Talmud says that a Jew who doesn't keep Shabbat, it calls him kegoy, that he's equivalent to a Gentile. Now, Kabbalah says not true. It's the opposite. Well, the reason they don't want to keep Shabbat is because they have a double Yetzer Hara. They have a double evil inclination. So if they do good, they're good. If they do bad, they're good. It's a stupid system. Kabbalah.
Wait, I don't think that's what it means when rabbis say a Jewish soul is a Jewish soul. I think it's used to encourage Jews to more so return, like they're always accepted back. If you were off the derech for a few years, you're still Jewish and you're still accepted back here. We don't I don't think rabbis like to make people feel like, okay, once you cut off, you're not accepted here anymore. Like you can still
unless
come
you're a
back.
Gentile, right? Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, that's just
so
my
rabbis believe in
community. We're
special
a very
treatment.
small number.
So only Chabad invented this, by the way. In Syria, like no one knew of kiruv or shlichut or whatever they want to call it. Jews didn't feel an obligation to reach out to other Jews because they had Jewish blood. If you were an atheistical Jew or if you became a Christian, like your parents would sit shiva. Chabad changed the whole system, and now everyone thinks that this notion of achadut and all the Jews care about each other, nonsense. Religious Jews have always hated secular Jews, and secular Jews have always hated religious Jews. Chabad are the only ones who stand on the corners asking everybody if they're Jewish. Like that matters. What matters is if you want to keep Torah or not. Now, I'm for outreach. I believe in outreach to Jews and to non-Jews. I view secular Jews like non-Jews. I mean, from a religious perspective, not from a halakhic perspective. But that's what they teach, that Jews are special intrinsically. And they also teach that people can convert to Judaism. They teach that if somebody converts, it's because they were Jewish all along, because they had a Jewish soul, that they were one of the netzitzot, the sparks that fell away and are coming back. So they watered down the whole system. They're saying that the only reason you would want to come to Torah is because you were genetically disposed to come anyways, because your soul is calling you, which is a stupid, it makes, I mean, it's kind of like saying that you're attracted to me, because I don't know, like you're like Joe Dirt and I'm your cousin and you just want to marry your cousin, right? And not because you actually like me. The same thing with the Torah. They're saying the Torah is not powerful enough to draw you to itself. It had to be blood. Well, you needed Jewish blood in order to be attracted. It's a stupid system. Kabbalah, I'm sorry. I'm not against people studying it, right? But I just think that it's such a primitive idea. And it's only hurt the Jewish people. There you go. There you go. Here, someone called me a kofar.
So, hey.
Mom.
Yeah.
All right.
So, within the Talmud, right? Because I read the Talmud from time to time. So within the Talmud, you have different statements about conversion, right? So one rabbi says that there should be 2 people watching over. Another rabbi says there are 3 people watching over. Then you have other statements that even say, I even read a text where it says that one person had a slave, and then the slave was immersed, and then if he would pronounce that the immersion was for the sake of conversion, they would preempt.
You're like the smartest. There's no way, unless you got this from me. I mean, you're pretty impressive, man. I'm telling you, because I've never heard anyone quote these sources. I've quoted them many times, but I don't know. Whatever. Continue. But yeah.
Yeah. So I've because I go into these things sometimes, and I write these.
I don't know what happened to this thing.
He probably get a call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should I read the Talmud? Oh my god.
Good luck. You're gonna laugh a lot. There's some parts in it are hilarious.
Someone told me I shouldn't.
Why?
Because it's too much.
Some parts in it are really funny though.
Yeah. If you're part of the
I went to yeshiva. I've learned halakha inside out. I've learned pretty much all of it. So I don't know if I don't know.
Yeah, so the understanding in the Haredi world is that women aren't supposed to learn Gemara. That
we're not, even not by us.
Right.
The only school that teaches it is a more so secular school that's mixed of Ashkenaz and Sephardic, and it's like a big school. They teach girls Gemara, Mishnah. I don't know why.
But there's Torah college.
The religious Sephardic. I go to Torah college. Oh my god, I shouldn't have said that, but yeah.
Torah Stern also. They teach Gemara.
They
Beis
have a
Yaakov
class
doesn't.
for it.
Yeah.
That's if you want to take it. I don't know. I've never learned Gemara or Mishnah. Like, unless my father spoken to me about certain things, I've never studied it.
So, Rabbi, can I read you something?
No. No.
No?
No, just quote it off the top of your head, because I mean it's gonna take forever.
No, I'm
I
here.
agree with all your points, by the way. I mean, they're there for sure. I don't know. Now 2 people are out for coffee. All right. Anyways, guys, I mean, I just wanted to be on for an hour. I have stuff to do. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you. What's your name, Syrian person?
It's Renzi.
Oh, I mean, how would I know? I mean, it's
because I have another account. I'm always on.
So you don't want to deal with it?
No, there's nothing. I agree with you. I mean, there's nothing to deal with. But the Gemara gives 3 opinions. It mentions 2 witnesses for conversion, 3 witnesses for conversion, and no witnesses for conversion. And it says, and yeah.
So how can you say that you need to convert for 2 years when it says that you can even convert on your own?
I didn't say no.
But that's not what people are doing. Like I said this already. How can you convert to something you don't know about? The point of people taking longer.
No, but why is it in other people's hands, though? Why is it in other people's hands?
Because
when even in your own text it says that it's in your own. It says that it's in your own hands.
There's no consensus on the text.
How are you? You're supposed to have actually. Doesn't
so then you can choose any one of the 3.
You're supposed to have 2 witnesses. Doesn't it say that? As a minimum of 2.
If there is no consensus on the text, how can you choose one of them to be the rule?
Within the text, there's no consensus. So depending on the community you belong to, your leaders will decide how they want to do it. Right? For example, Shulchan Aruch says 2 minimum, b'diavad, and the Rambam says it's 3 minimum. The Mishnah doesn't even give witnesses. However, we believe in order and consensus. So the Jewish people have adopted as a standard at least 3 witnesses. That's what they adopted. Now, the purpose of converting is to be somewhat accepted. So you can convert yourself to Judaism, or I could convert you, but not everyone's going to accept that conversion. However, if you would go by the most recognized courts, not that they're any more knowledgeable, but they're liked, then they'll typically make you wait a year. I don't care if they make you wait a year or 2 years, as long as the time is pleasant, okay, and they're encouraging you on. That's it. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Think about it like this also, like the Beit Din is not only, even when a woman and a man are getting a divorce, right? You also need 2 witnesses. You need these kind of things, these kind of structures, so that people aren't just going off and making up their own thing.
But you know what? I think
this is why we have authority, where they teach us how to do things, and where they lead us how to do things. It depends on which sect or which group you want to convert with.
But you know what? I don't want to I don't want to annoy you or something, but you just got a little bit annoyed, right? When I wanted to quote the source, you wanted to end everything. Well, and I think this is an issue.
I've quoted it many times. Yeah, but that is by the simple fact that you're saying that the source mentions 4 different opinions. People can't just pick one of those opinions. When it has to do with conversion, it has to be accepted by people. That's the point of converting. You're converting to the Jewish people. So what rabbis do is that they'll pick one of those sources, but they've almost agreed upon 3 witnesses. What's the big deal whether it's 3 or 2 or 1? What's the big deal, right?
Because there's people in the world who want to keep the law, and then you tell them that they have to go through a conversion process, right? But these same people don't believe in all that time that they are accepted by the Most High, and because you are telling them that they are not Jewish, they will start not keeping the law, which is the most important thing for them to do.
I do free conversions every month. The first Sunday of every month, come to South Florida. I'll convert you for free.
I can't.
Well, I mean, it's out there.
You know why? You know why?
Listening. The first Sunday of every month in South Florida, I'll marry you again if you're married, and I'll give you the paperwork. I'll do hatafas dam and all that stuff. So this is the option I have for people like you. who don't want to go through this process or who don't live in a Jewish community, because in order to convert in an Orthodox synagogue, you have to live walking distance to an Orthodox synagogue. Okay, if you want to start your own community, come to me. I'll convert you in a halachic manner, right? Meaning I'll do everything that's required and I'll do extra just to be safe. And I'll give you the paperwork, but we have bigger issues than how long it takes someone to convert. Okay, but I just don't want people to be mistreated when they come to convert. All right, that's it. I mean, that's what I want. I mean, I'm not.
But you know what, Rabbi? Let me give you a personal thing. Like I cannot enter the United States of America. I used to be convicted in the past, So that's a reason I can't come. So
where do you live?
Right now, I'm in East Africa.
No.
Right now, I'm right. Okay, I travel a lot, right? So right now, I'm in East Africa.
It's pretty cool. Well, whatever. All right. So I'm going to India and Pakistan in January. I mean, I could meet you in India if you want.
Where in India?
So every year I go to India to do conversions there. So I'm going to different places. Like this last year, I was in Delhi. I was in Tamil Nadu, which is.
Can I ask you about that?
Chennai, and yeah, go ahead.
Are these people like people that have been keeping the laws
for a long time already? Yes, and no one.
So is this the same organization that met with Rudy Rothman?
No, but that's Nigeria.
But he went to India as well. No,
I don't think he went to India. I mean, if he went to India, I mean, I wasn't aware.
Are they requiring the Nigerians to convert also?
No. I mean, he went there to Nigeria because of the people there who claimed to be Jewish. And the Nigerians threw him in jail or something because they thought he was doing something illegal or something.
The Igbo.
Igbo Jews. It's a.
Yeah. I mean,
I think they're trying to get them to come to Israel, or I don't know.
On my channel here on TikTok, there's the clip that I'm talking to Rudy Rothman here because he's from Miami originally. But yeah, he's an interesting guy.
I've heard of the Indian Jews. So have they been keeping like Judaism and?
So almost all the Indian Jews made Aliyah. They're what's called B'nai Menashe. But these individuals.
The Menashe tribe for real?
No, I don't believe it. I mean, they basically. I don't believe it. I don't believe in all these 10 lost tribes stuff. The people I deal with.
You don't believe that there are lost tribes?
No. I don't believe that anyone nowadays has an understanding of what tribe they came from. And I think it's bigoted to give people special treatment just because they claim to have Jewish blood.
But I'm a Levi, so...
No, well, that's different. I mean, you have a chazaka of being a Levi, meaning you have an understanding that you're a Levi and you could trace your lineage back. People who are of the 10 lost tribes, woke up one day or had this practice of lighting candles or something, but they didn't know that they were even Jewish. Like the B'nai Menashe were Christian and they were Hindu and they didn't. It's kind of like the Pashtuns. The Pashtuns in Afghanistan, they're Muslim, and Israel wants to give them special treatment because they claim to be like descendants of one of the tribes. Who gives a crap what tribe you belong to? Like, if you don't keep Torah, you're not Jewish. So the Indians I work with are Indians who have no Jewish lineage that we can prove. So these are people who were once Christian and they dropped believing in Jesus and they've been living like Jews for probably 15 years.
But do they live all correctly? Like they?
Yeah, I mean they're not Haredi.
They keep Shabbat. They do.
Yeah, no, we took them already to Sifrei Torah. We built them a mikvah. I've been there twice already for 3 weeks at a time, and we converted all of them. We converted hundreds of people. And every year I fundraise for my trip over there. And this year we're going to go to Pakistan also, which is kind of dangerous, but whatever. You got to do things that scare you.
You're crazy for going to Pakistan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They hate Jews there.
Yeah, I know. What are you going to do? I mean, it takes a thug sometimes. Sometimes it takes a thug.
Good luck.
All right. That being said, guys, I got to go do some work. All right. Thank you. What's your name? Razy? Or Renzi? No, Renzi. Yeah. No, Razy was my ex-wife's middle name. All right, never mind.
Razy's so Jewish. Okay.
Yeah, no. I mean, Razel is Yocheved in Yiddish.
My real name is not Renzi though. It's my nickname. I have a very Jewish name. No worries.
Rachi.
No. You can have one more guess. It's in
Pesci
it's in a lot
Lipschitz.
of prayers. It's in the Hallel. No.
Slutsky. I work for one Jewish company.
Resh Yud Nun Hey.
Resh Yud Nun Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Nun Hey. Oh, so Rena.
Yeah.
All right, that's common. I mean, it's not so crazy. I work for this company it's like a prominent firm company, but most people in New York know it. It's in Kew Gardens. So I don't know. I'm not going to say names. I don't want to get fired. But I've worked in IT for all these frum girls in Israel who are colo wives, and I call them up to fix like servers and stuff like that, and they all have to change their names because they call doctors' offices in America, and you can't call a doctor's office with a name like Pesci Lipschitz or like Rena Slutsky. So they have to become like Cheryl Parker.
It's funny. I used to work in a medical office. A lot of Haredis have American names legally, and when I call them to call them up to like go in and get their exam done, they don't even know their English name. It's just their legal name. It's funny. They have like Jacob or Michelle when it's really like Michal, or it's funny.
Yeah. Or like Sheldon. Okay, fine. All right, guys. Thank you. Shavuot Tov and all that cool stuff. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you, Kakale, Ruben. Like always.
All right. Good night, guys.
Das Vidanya. Take it easy.